Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Sabbath class on the 19th of June, 2021. We're doing part two from this morning, David, Repentance and Sorrows. I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Shalom and welcome to everybody. We're going to do a moment of silence and a prayer and a current event so I can get right into this to finish it up. So we're going to do that moment of silence in regards to our Creator, Yahweh, and His Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, and all that they are doing for us to bring about our, to turn our captivity and bring us back to our land. So with that being said, oh Lord, we come before Thee at this time. Lord, we have set this time apart at the end of your Sabbath day that you have given unto us for rest. We are thankful for the knowledge and the understanding that you have given unto us up until this point. We seek thy face on this Sabbath day that you shower us with peace and togetherness. Oh Lord, we see thine hand in the affairs of the world, and we know and understand what you have spoken in the past will surely come to pass. Turn not thy face from us, but hearken unto our plea. Hearken, O Lord, and do. All praises unto you. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna do current events. Anybody got any current events? I just got a couple, to coincide with what I was doing this morning. Like I said, they're doing the most with all this black empowerment or whatever you want to call it. So I got another one for you right here. All this happening all at once. This is the opening day, a museum honoring Harriet Tubman and her legacy on Juneteenth. So it says a long-awaited Harriet Tubman Museum in Cape May, New Jersey, is holding its grand opening this Saturday on June 10th. After its opening was delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. How coincidental was that? It's almost unreal and so exciting. Louise Smith, a longtime Cape May resident, told NBC affiliate WCAU in Philadelphia ahead of the museum opening. According to the museum's Instagram, Tubman, who escaped slavery herself and became an abolitionist, brought more than 200 people into freedom as a conductor of the Underground Railroad. Read a little more. So in addition to taking 19 trips back and forth to free others after freeing herself, Ms. Tubman also bought her own farm in Auburn, New York, where she moved her parents after freeing them as well. Ms. Tubman served in the Union Army during the Civil War as a cook, nurse, scout, and spy. She also helped establish the National Association of Colored Women. Okay? So all that happened today, along with what we talked about this morning. Any comments? Okay. No comments. Got take one more. This right here is larger than life George Floyd statue unveiled to mark Juneteenth in the U.S. cities. After protesters toppled statues of the colonizers and slaveholders across the U.S., several cities unveiled new monuments this week to mark Juneteenth federal holiday and honor the lives of George Floyd, abolitionist Harriet Tubman, and many others. Is there something? Yeah, these Europeans going crazy. So there goes the statue right there. It says Terrence Floyd unveiled a statue of his brother in Brooklyn Saturday morning and led dozens of gathered at the gathered at Juneteenth rally outside the Brooklyn Public Library in a chant of "We are Floyd." It says My brother was a sacrifice. So I need y'all to continue to pay attention and keep my big brother's name ringing in the ears of everyone. Lord said, according to the live stream of events. Okay, they're doing the most. They're doing something. They got something. They got. Oh, they got planned. It's like I said, you got to look at that. It just so happened they had the statues and all this stuff prepared, already ready by the time they had, Biden come out with Juneteenth, but all the statues already ready. So somebody was working behind the scene. Okay. Okay. So like I said, anybody got any comments on current events or what I just talked about? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and get back into what I was doing this morning with this is somebody got something?
Yeah, I think it was that uh, like you said, those statues is already there, or available. So they had already somebody had it in mind already to present it
Right.
right after Biden presented. You know,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It was set up.
right.
Right. But that's fine. That's cool. So, like I said, this is follow up to this morning, David's repentance and sorrows, or somebody David's repentance and sorrows, part two. So I'm in. I showed you how all events that led up to Absalom, and how David ignored the Most High's judgments, and all it did was fuel uh, Absalom, because whether you believe it or not, Absalom was wicked as hell. So, but David loved him. So we're gonna pick it up in 2 Samuel chapter 15. Man, like I said before, it's a moral to the story at the end. So it says, I'm in let me get this. So I'm in chapter 15 of 2 Samuel. Like I said, what I picked up off this morning. And so uh we stopped this morning with Absalom had revolted against David, and he was trying to usurp David's throne. And so I'm gonna pick it up where um, David got to flee Jerusalem because of Absalom. So I'm in 15 and 13. And there came messengers to David saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us and smite the city with the edge of the sword. And the king's servants said unto the king, behold, the servants are ready to do whatsoever my lord and the king shall appoint. And the king went forth, and all his household after him. And the king left 10 women which were concubines uh, to keep the house. And the king went forth with all his people after him and tarried in a place that was far off. So we see right here, the Most High had told David that what he had done with Bathsheba in the secret, he's going to do it to him and his household out in the open. So we get to, let me see. Okay, let me get it. Yeah, so I'm kind of ahead of myself, but chapter 16 says that Absalom came into Jerusalem, and then it says that verse 22, and they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house. Absalom went in into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel, and the counsel of Amathal, which he counseled in those days, were as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the counsel of Amathal. both with David and with Absalom. So what I'm getting ready to expose and show to you that the story of you think that people will say, how in the world can somebody concoct the story of the Mount of Olives and all that went down with JC, with the Mount of Olives, the cutting off the ear and all that. Well, they obtained the story from right here, because we know that Judas was right there with Jesus all the way, and then at the very end, according to the story, he turned on him, turned him in for 30 pieces of silver. So right here, this guy Armenthal in chapter 17, he's he's one of the wisest men in Israel, and he got David's ear. So he's been counseling David forever and a day. So he's like David's right hand man. And so now he's all of a sudden he decided with Absalom to overtake David. So we got to keep that in mind, right? So I'm picking this up with Absalom so I'm read 21. And Armenthal said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which ye have left, to keep the house, and all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. So see, he telling them, he counseling Absalom. Absalom wouldn't have did this. He gave him the counsel to do it. But he's been David right hand man all this time. So we see what here right here. This guy right here is the same as Judas. Keep that in mind. So I'm in chapter 17, and the council of Armenthal and Hushah. So I want to tell you who this guy is. This guy Hushia. He's also a counselor with David, but he's righteous, and he's holding sway today. He's not giving up his understanding. He's not giving up his league or his fellowship with David. He's not giving it up. He's staying around to get the information to send it to David, let David know what's going on since he ain't there. So we're gonna go moreover. Armenthal said unto Absalom, let me now choose out of 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David. Yeah, this is supposed to be his right hand man, David, this night. And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and I will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee, and I will smite the king on it, and I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seest is as if all return to, so as all the people shall be in peace. And the same pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel. Then said Absalom, call now Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear likewise what he had to say. So remember, this guy with David, he's playing a role like he's against David, but he's with David. He's the ear. He's David's ear amongst his enemies. So 6. And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Armenthal have spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his sayings? If not, speak thou. And here she said unto Absalom, the counsel of Armenthal have given is not good at this time. For said Hushai, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chaffed in their minds as a bear robbed for her whelps in the field, and the father is a man of war and will not lodge with the people. So what we getting right here, the picture we I don't know if everybody noticed, but these mighty men that David got with him is giants. A giant is a mighty man. So this is just another story, another part of the story that's been covered over. That we don't have a true picture of it. So these men that David got with him is mighty men. He got them from Abraham, when the Most High gave Abraham those 7 nations. So you got circumcised giants that's been with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on down. They with David. Then that's what this guy's telling them. You know that David got these mighty men with him. So you can't write him off. So 9 says, behold, he is hid now in some pit or in some other place. And it will come to pass when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever hears it will say, there is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom. And he also that is valiant, whose heart is as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man. See that? He waking them up, because they got beside themselves, and they which are with him are valiant men. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, and as the sands that is by the sea for a multitude, and that thou go to battle in thine own person. So shall we come upon him in some place where he shall be found, and we will light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground, and of him and all of the men that are with him, there shall not be left so much as one. Moreover, if he be gotten in the city, then shall all Israel bring ropes to the city, and we will draw it to the river until there be not one small stone found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hershey and Archie is better than the counsel of Ornathal, for the Lord have appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ornathal, to intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. So now I was telling you this guy is with David. So then 15 says, then said Hershey unto Zodak. So these two working together. And Abiathar the priest, thus and thus did Amazar counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus have I counseled. Now therefore, send quickly. See that? He's sending back information to David. Now therefore, send quickly, tell David, saying, lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up, and all the people that are with him. Say now, Jonathan and Amaz stayed by Ingrel, and they might not be seen to come into the city. And they went to told them, and they went and told King David. Nevertheless, a lad saw them and told Absalom, but they went both of them away quickly and came to the man's house in Burin, which had a well in his court, whether they went down. And the woman took and spread the covering over the well mouth, and spread ground corn thereon, and the thing was not known. And when Absalom's servants came to the woman to the house, they said, where's Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said unto them, they be gone over the brook of the water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. And it came to pass after they were departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto David, arise and pass quickly over the water, for thus hath Amazar counseled against you. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan. By the morning light, there lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan. Now here we go. So I told you the story with JC and Judith. They got it from right here. So when what everything that Judith had did, he turned JC in for 30 pieces of silver. It backfired on him. Then Judas went and hung himself. Well, here go this guy right here that he turned on David. Now I'm in verse 23. And Amazar saw that his counsel was not followed. He saddled his ass and arose and gat him home to his house and to his city, put his household in order, and hanged himself. See that? That's where they get the story from. And hanged himself and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. Then David came to Manam, and Absalom passed over Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab, which Amasa was a man's son, whose name was Eartha, or Israelite, that went in to Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zohar, Joab's mother. So Israel and Absalom pitched in the land of Gilead. And it came to pass when David was come to Manam, that Shabbat and the son of Nahash of Rehoboth of the children of Ammon, and Machir the son of Amiel of Deborah and Brazella, the Gideonite of these words killing me, Regulum brought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and flour and parched corn and beans and lentil and parched pulse and honey and butter and sheep and cheese and king and for David and for the people that were with him to eat. For they said the people is hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness, right? So now we're in chapter 18, this is where Absalom get defeated. It says, and David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. And David sent forth the third part of the people under the hand of Joab, and the third part under the hand of Abishai, son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and the third part under the hand of Ittai, the Gittite. And the king said unto the people, I will surely go forth with you myself also. But the people answered, thou shalt not go forth, for if we flee away, they will not care for us, neither if half of us die, will they care for us. But now thou art worth 10,000 of us. Therefore now it is better that thou succor us out of the city. And the king said unto them, what seemeth you best I will do. And the king stood by the gate side, and all the people came out by hundreds and by thousands. And the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, deal gently for my sake with the young man, even with Absalom. And all the people heard when the king gave all the captains charge concerning Absalom. So the people went out into the field against Israel, and the battle was in the woods. Check this out. So remember, the Lord of hosts is watching all this. He got a covenant with David. So it said, so the people went into the field against Israel, and the battle was in the woods of Ephraim, where the people of Israel were slain before the servants of David. And there was there a great slaughter that day of 20,000 men. For the battle was there scattered over the face of all the country. And the woods, look at this, and the woods devoured more people than the sword did. So the Yahweh was in there killing them. You know, David got some mighty men with him, but these 7 angels was killing way more than what they was killing in the woods. See that? So 9 says, not Absalom is going to be killed right here. Remember what Joab did before? Joab when he killed Abner. David ain't telling him he killed Abner. David just told him right here, when you come across Absalom, go easy with him. But Joab going to do what he want to do. So verse 9 says, 18 and 9, 2 Samuel 18 and 9, Absalom met the servants of David, and Absalom rode upon a mule, and the mule went under the thick boughs of a great oak, and his head caught hold of the oak, and he was taken up between the heaven and the earth, and the mule that was under him went away. And a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, behold, I saw Absalom hanged in the oak. And Joab said unto the man that told him, and behold, thou sawest him, and why did thou not smite him there to the ground? And said, I would have given thee 10 shekels of silver and a girdle. And the man said unto Joab, though I should receive 1,000 shekels of silver in mine hand, yet would I not put forth my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing, the king charged thee, and Abishai and Ittai, saying, beware that none touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise, I should have wrought falsehood against mine own life. For there is no matter hid from the king, and thou and thyself would have set thyself against me. Then said Joab, I may not tarry thus with thee. And he took 3 darts in his hand, and he thrust through the heart of Absalom while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak. And 10 men that bore Joab's armor compassed about and smote Absalom and slew him. And Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing after Israel. But Joab held back the people, and they took Absalom, cast him into the great pit in the woods, and laid a very great heap of stone upon him. And all Israel fled, everyone to his tents. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and reared up for himself a pillow, which is in the king's dale. For he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. And he called the pillar after his own name, and it is called unto this day Absalom's place. Then he said, Ahimaaz, the son of Zodek, let me now run and bear the king's tidings, how the Lord have avenged him of his enemies. And Joab said unto him, thou shalt not bear tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. But this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead. Then said Joab to Cushai, go tell the king what thou hast seen. And Cushai bowed himself unto Joab and ran. Then Mashah, the son of Zodek, yet again to Joab, but also ever let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushi. And Joab said, wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready? But howsoever said he, let me run. And he said unto him, run. Then Mashah ran by the way of the plains and overran Cushi. And David sat between two gates. And the watchman went up to the roof over the gate to the wall, and lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running along. And the watchman cried and told king, and the king said, if it be alone, there's tidings in his mouth. But he came apace and drew near, and the watchman saw another man running. And the watchman called unto the porter and said, behold, another man runneth along. And the king said, he also bringeth tidings. And the watchman said, me thinketh the running of the foremost is like the running of Amahash, the son of Zodek. And the king said, he is the good man, and cometh with good tidings. And Amaziah called and said unto the king, all is well. And he fell down to the earth upon his face before the king, and said, blessed be the Lord thy God, which hath delivered us, the men that lifted up their hands against my lord the king. And the king said, is the young man Absalom safe? And Amaziah answered, when Joab sent the king's servant, and me thy servant, I saw a great tumult, but I knew not what it was. And the king said unto him, turn aside and stand here. And he turned aside and stood still, and behold, Cushai came. Cushai said, tidings, my lord the king, for the Lord have avenged thee this day of all them that rose up against thee. And the king said unto Cushai, is the young man Absalom safe? And Cushai answered, the enemies of my lord the king, and all that rise up against thee to thee hurt, be as a young man is. And the king was much moved, and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And he went. Thus he said, O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would God I had died for thee, and Absalom, my son, my son. So they watching this, because all the wickedness he done, David's still worrying about him and still crying over him. And they watching this. So we're going to pick it up in chapter 19. And so Joab come. Now Joab didn't have to kill him, but he killed him, just like he killed Near. So it says, and it was told Joab, behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom, and the victory that day was turned into mourning into all the people. For the people heard say that the day how the king was grieved for his son, and the people gat them back uh, still of that day into the city, that the people being ashamed still away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came into the house of the king and said, thou hast shamed this day the face of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons and thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines, and that thou lovest thine enemies, and hatest thy friends. For thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. Now therefore arise, go forth, and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night, and that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befall thee from thy youth until now. Right? So he told David right there, you don't go out there, don't put something on you. Okay? So they don't tell us all this in the New Testament. So Joab killed Absalom. And I'm reading all this for a reason. So now I'm over here in 20. This guy called Sheba. You got to remember these names. So in 20 it says Sheba revolts against David. Absalom just revolted against him. So what's going on is the whole kitchen sink being thrown at David because of what he done with to Uriah. It says, and there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bechiah, a Benjamite, and he blew a trumpet, and he said, we have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse, every man to his tent, O Israel. So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Sheba, the son of Bechiah. But the men of Judah clave unto their king from Jordan even unto Jerusalem. And David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, put them in the ward, fed them. Okay, these women been defiled, right? This is what Absalom took a tent and slept with all of them while David was on the run. So they all been defiled. So 3, David came into his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, put them in a ward, fed them, but went not into them. So they were set up until the day of their death, living in widowhood. Then said the king to Amashia, assemble me a men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present. So Amashia went to assemble the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than he set the set time which he had appointed him. So what this guy doing is he got a problem with David too. He don't want to go get David army to help him. He got some more issues. So 6, and David said to Abishai, this Joab's brother, now shall Sheba the son of Bechiah do us more harm than did Absalom. Take thou thy Lord's servants, pursue after him, lest he get him a fenced cities and escape. And there went out after him Joab's men and the Cherites and the Pelites and all the mighty men, these giants, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bechiah. When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amashia went before them, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded upon him, and upon his girdle was a sword fastened upon his loins and the sheath thereof, and he went forth, and and it fell out. And so Joab said to Amashia, art thou in help, my brother? And Joab asked Amashia by the beard, took Amashia by the beard with the right hand and kissed him. So let me break down what's going on. This guy right here got a hidden sword in his hand. He gonna try to kill David with it, but the thing fell out. Joab saw it, right? So then it says, Joab said to Amashia, art thou in help, my brother? And Joab took Amashia by the beard with the right hand to kiss him, but Amashia took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the 5th rib, and he shed out his bowels to the ground, struck him not again, and he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba, the son of Bechiah. So this guy right here is a mighty man. This guy he just killed, he's a mighty man, and there's a lot of people afraid of him. So, and one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favored Joab, and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. So we let him know. Say, there was a bunch of men with this guy he just stabbed. He just stabbed him in the rib. So he told him right there, you're going to go with me and with David, or you're going to stay here with him. So then it says, Amashia wallowed in the blood in the midst of the highway. And when the men saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amashia out of the highway into the field, cast a cloth upon him. And when he saw that everyone that came by him stood still, when he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab and pursued after Sheba of Bechiah. So eventually they killed it. They killed this guy Sheba. But like I was saying, remember that. So his name was Sheba. Okay, so I'm in 2 Samuel 20 and 23. So it says, now Joab was over the host of Israel. So he the Lord of hosts. Joab was over the host of Israel, and Benaiah the son of Jedediah was over the Cherites, and the PIs. These people right here, these giants too, but they are lower, they're smaller than the other giants. So it says, and Adarum was over the tribute of Jehoshaphat, the son of Abed, was a recorder. Sheba was a scribe. Zodek was an avatar, was a priest, and Ira also the Jerite was chief ruler of David. So we're gonna go over to 21 and 15. It says, this is Joab's brother. It says, moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down, and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines, and David waxed faint. And Ishabah, which was of the sons of the giants, so it's a giant. David fighting with a giant. The weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, and he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. So he got David in a pickle. He getting ready to kill him. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, his Joab's brother, succored him and smote the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David swore unto him, saying, thou shalt go not no more out with us to battle, thou shalt quench not the light of Israel. So from that point on, they wouldn't allow David to go out no more with to fight, because they said he was more important than to be out in the field, out in the battle fighting, and then if he died, that's the end of Israel. So with that being said, I'm gonna read 18 to 22, and it says, it came to pass after this that there was again a battle with the Philistines at God Go. Then this guy, I don't know his name, slew Seth, which was of the sons of the giants. And there was again a battle and go with the Philistines, where Elhan and the son of Joram and the Bethlehemite slew the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, and the staff whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number, and he also was born to be a giant. And when he defiled Israel, Jonathan the son of Shema, the brother of David, slew him. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and fell by the hand of David and by the hand of the servants. So I'm showing you all that for a reason, because like I said, the story that's been painted to us, it wasn't this. So it's giants all over the place. Well, but I want you to know. So now we're gonna pick this up. See where I'm at. 30. Okay, so it says, so I'm in 2 Samuel 23. And then I'm gonna open it up for the questions. So I was I'm in 2 Samuel 23:8. These are mighty men. You've been hearing mighty men. David got some mighty men, but like I said, it hadn't been registered. So mighty men are giants. The only way you get a mighty man is when an angel go into a woman. You get a mighty man. Let me read that right quick. Genesis chapter 6. And this is what you have to understand about it. So it says, let me get it. Page is tore up. Okay, so it says, Genesis chapter 6, it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. The Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, but his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God, these angels, came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, the same became mighty men. So these mighty men that's with David is giants. You gotta let that register. So I'm gonna read something to you, and you tell me if they're not giants. So this is 2 Samuel 23:8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Abinadu the Ezonite. He lifted up his spear against 800 men. See that? So you tell me if that ain't a giant. He lifted up a spear against 800 men, whom he slew at one time. He killed 800 men at one time. 9. And after him was Eleazar, son of Judah, the Ahorite, one of the three mighty men with David when they defiled the Philistines that were there gathered together to battle, and these men of Israel were gone away. He arose and smote the Philistines until his hands was weary, and his hands weaved unto the sword, and the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only the spoilers. And after him was Shuma, the son of Agi, the Harite, and the Philistines were gathered together into a troop. Where was it? Where a place of the ground full of lintel, when the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. And these 3 of the 30 chiefs went down and came to David in the harvest time unto the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rephaim. So these men that was around David, it was 33 of them. And Uriah was one of them. And all of David's problems came because of what he did to Uriah. So you say, well, what's going on? These giants, they got a mingled spirit in them. So they ain't right. But the Most High had changed their countenance and their spirit for David. So David had disrespected the Most High when he did what he did to Uriah. That's why all this drama came in David's house. Right? So I read all that to read this. So now I'm telling you that David the Messiah, and he coming back. So let me read this right here. I'm in Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 12. So this is the future deliverance of Israel. It says, the burden of the chapter 12, verse 1, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, said the Lord, which stretcheth forth the heavens, layeth the foundation of the earth, forms the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, and all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. We already see the beginnings of that already. It's already started. So it says, in that day, said the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, right? And I will smite every horse of people with blindness, and the governors, it's the kings of Judah. So that's David, all David's sons is kings. So this the kings of Judah is David's house. Shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, in the Lord of hosts their God. In that day will I make the kings of Judah like a heath of fire. See that? That's what he is. He lit on the bush with Moses. He was a heath of fire. So he didn't raise them up, and they like him now. It's the army. It says, in that day will I make the kings of Judah like a heath of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire. See, they like him now. In a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand, on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. The Lord shall also save the tents of Judah first. That's the glory of the house of David, and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them in that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. So I ain't right there. It's been there. So it says 9, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. This is the purpose of the army in Ezekiel 37. 10, and I will pour upon the house of David. Here go one of those scriptures that is hoodwinked over in the New Testament. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me. This is the Lord of hosts. They're going to look upon me. That's the Lord of hosts, whom they have pierced. They denigrated him. And they shall mourn for him, David. They're going to mourn for David. Why they going to mourn for David? As one mourning for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn son. Here we go. 11. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Imogen in the valley of Megiddo. That's when Josiah died. Josiah got shot with an arrow and died in Megiddo, and they mourned for Josiah for a long time. So what we're looking at right here, I just showed you they're mourning for David. Why? David was dead. He done resurrected all of them now. David standing there in front of them. You say, what you talking about? Where you get that from? Verse 12. And the land shall mourn every family apart. The family of the house of David apart. See that? And their wives apart. The family of the house of Nathan. Okay, I told you to remember them names. When did Nathan live? Nathan lived during the time of David. See that? So now he raised Nathan up, all these witnesses. So he says, the family of the house of Nathan apart and their wives apart. The family of the house of Levi apart and their wives apart. The family of the house of Shema. This is the guy that threw the rocks at David when he fled from Absalom, right there. Shema apart and their wives apart. All the families that remain, every family apart and their wives apart. So he done resurrected David. That's what all the mourning about. That's what he's talking about. So let me give you another example of what I'm talking about. Isaiah 2. We'll give you two witnesses. In Isaiah it says, like I said, you're not understanding what's going on because you reading over it because of JC. So Isaiah says, Isaiah 66, it says, verse 5, hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that's Esau, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy. So when he come back, he's been gone for 3,000 years, he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Now here we go. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that renders recompense to his enemies. Why is it a voice going to the temple? That's what David had. That's what David buried at. So 7, before she travailed, this Zion, before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pains came, she was delivered of a man child. That's David. So the woman, all her children have been buried in her. That's why Nehemiah was worrying about the graves in Jerusalem. When he was in Babylon, he wanted the king to let him go back to maintain the graves, the sepulchres, because he knew they were going to be resurrected. So before the Most High, before he delivers us, he's going to raise David up out of his grave right here. So you say, what are you talking about? Let me give you one more verse. Then I'm going to open up for Q&A. So he says, I'm in Micah, chapter 4. Micah chapter 4. Like I said, I ain't write none of this. So Micah chapter 4, verse 9 says, I'm going to start at verse 7. And I will make her, same thing we just said over there. He said she over there, but it's her right here. I will make her that halted, a remnant, and her that was cast afar off, that's us, a strong nation, and the Lord shall reign over them in Mount Zion from henceforth even and forever. And thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee shall he come, even the first dominion. That's David. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. Now he asks a question right here. Now, why do you cry out aloud? Why are you crying? Is there no king in thee? Ain't David buried in Jerusalem? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? Is the Lord of hosts gone? Is he perished? He says, your counselor perished, for pains have taken hold of thee as a woman in travail, being pains and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon, and thou shalt be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hands of thy enemies. See that? So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for questions or comments. Anybody got any questions or comments, or something they heard?
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, okay. So you said this after commenting about the holy ones rough around the edges. But
Say
you
that
said
again.
that you made the comment that the holy ones are rough around the edges. Uh,
Right.
yeah. Okay. In reference to what you had read in the scripture, I didn't write the scripture down. I'm sorry. Uh,
Okay.
and I was just wondering, could that be their character? Because see, they know the heart. So if they speak in a manner that would appear rough to someone, it could be because they want them to get it beyond a shadow of a doubt what was spoken by them. It's just a question. Um,
This how you gotta look at that. So if you got excuse me, I'm not trying to cyborg nobody or whatever, but just say you got uh 15, 20 gay guys,
uh-huh,
right? And then the commandment of the Most High said, if a man is caught lying with another man, right, take him outside the city and kill him, right?
okay.
Think about that. What they gonna do? You think they're gonna do what they're doing now, running around, twisting around with tight pants on and flipping around in front of everybody?
No.
No, they ain't gonna do that because he ain't finna go for it. That's the
Hmm.
same way they kept telling Moses, you ain't
Hmm.
you going out. We don't know what you're doing. You could be out there in the wilderness talking to a goat or a tree. We don't know who you're talking to. So Moses brought the Lord of hosts there to talk to them, and we know how he come off. He come off rough until when he started talking, they said, "Now let him go on back in the wilderness where he at, and you keep coming talking to us. We don't want to talk to him
Hmm. Hmm.
because he ain't going for the okie doke."
Right.
So them the type of men Most High was dealing with.
Right.
And like I said, you ain't finna come up there shaving their beard and picking their beard and hanging them on no tree and sticking them all on the side. It ain't going down like that.
Right.
That's a concoction.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, and then my next question is, uh, you said the Benjamites are mixed with the strong ones, and I got slash giants, right?
Right.
Because they failed to, I guess, destroy a nation, but and then they went and inhabited the land and mingled with them, right?
Right. But when you say mingle with them, what happened was, like, for instance, you see where it says it was men that was in the tribe of Benjamin, men of Belial. And one of the stories about that is Abigail was uh, married to the guy that was a man of Belial. Those are people from those giants. So they had their own cities. Like Benjamin had a territory. You had cities where Israelites lived, but because they didn't drive them out, you also had cities where these descendants from the giants lived too. They wasn't living among each other. They had their own cities. And
Okay.
so Benjamin had an area allotment, and they had tributaries, which was the cities that the giants had. All the tribes had that,
Okay.
and so
So
so so that was from the Lord because those giants ended up they're the ones brought David to prominence.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got that. So, but you saying that Benjamites didn't mix with the giants that was in that area. They just inhabited. And when
Right?
I
They
say
didn't
mix, I'm talking about,
they didn't drive them out.
right. But
Right?
okay, so in other words, they didn't procreate with them. Is that I get that's my question.
No. They had their cities and lived in their cities and Israel had their cities and lived in their cities. But that wasn't the commandment that he gave. The commandment was to drive them out, but they couldn't drive them out. So they allowed them to have cities that's attached to each tribe. Each tribe had cities of these Canaanites that was attached to each tribe. And then eventually, we know eventually on down the road, they ended up intermingling with them because they ended up going up in the high places and picked up their worship, which was child sacrifice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I'm giving you the layout, how the layout, how it was. It was they had Israelite cities, and connected, attached to these Israelite cities was the Canaanite cities.
Okay. Okay.
And how you and where that comes from. If you go and read the story, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you can read the story when the Levite or concubine had left him and went back to her father's house, and he went to go get her, and
Right.
then so what he would do on his way to go get her, it started getting dark, so he was trying to get to the closest Israelite city he could. He didn't want to stop in one of those Canaanite cities because those men was perverted.
Right.
They was homosexual. So he didn't want to. When it started getting dark, he just went to the closest Israelite city and came into the city, and he just took his possession and sit down in the middle of the city, because it was a custom in Israel when a stranger come in, he sit in the middle of the city. Somebody come out and invite him into their house for the night.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
And this let's see, this be my last one. This one about Ishabus Steph, if I'm pronouncing it, Ishbosheth. Why did they bury his head with Abner? Was it?
I can't hear you.
Why did they bury it, Ishbosheth's head in the sepulcher with Abner? Was that for convenience sake, or was
No,
there some?
nah, they was kin.
Oh, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
they was kinfolk.
okay.
Yeah,
Let's see. Okay.
right. So another thing you have to look at about that those mighty men that was with David, you got to go back to the 200 giants. I mean, the 200 angels that came down on Mount Hermon. Remember what he said? What Enoch tells you, they was captains over 50, captains over thousands. So they
Right.
was mighty men too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Right.
the same as with David. If the mighty men would have fled from David, but it was these captains and mighty men that was in heaven that came down to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
200 of them. They weren't just regular angels. They was mighty men. They was over. They was over parts of the Most High's hosts.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't just no any angels that came down. They had great authority.
Right. Right.
Okay, and that's
So
the
what?
reason why. That's the reason why when Gabriel told Daniel, the Prince of Persia, he held me up.
Right.
He wasn't just no regular angel. Then he had to go get Michael to help him break through.
Right. Yeah, we can get that.
Okay.
Now, one last on just to comment on David's parenting skills, because I think we're all guilty of faltering, probably because of the love that we have for our offspring. Um, where okay, like David, to me, he left the daughter in the home with what's his name, Amnon.
Yeah.
Uh, but there were other people present, so it's not like he left her there alone with him. There were other people
Right.
present. Yeah, so it's I guess in David's absence, they or Abnon dismissed those other people, and then that's when she was left alone, um, uh, and then that's what happens. And I was thinking about that, and I think how crucial that was. I mean, it was an honest mistake, but and, I know sometimes a mother can be more, mm, uh, watchful than the father, perhaps. But yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah. Like I was saying before, when you look at their comments, they weren't expecting nothing like that.
right,
It was,
right,
they like I was saying before, the same counters right there is what got us over here.
okay,
When
okay,
they came on the West Coast with those ships, those people wasn't thinking that these people was wicked as they was. you know, they ain't no people existed like that that would do something like that.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's what was going. David thinking, you know, he want to eat, get his sister to feed him because you know they you know they have brother sister love
Right.
for each
Right.
other. And he ain't know Amnon had flipped.
Right.
Yeah, right. So that's why the Most High said, once they show their hand, then you take them out of here
Oh.
to root out wickedness in amongst Israel.
Okay.
That's the only thing wrong with us now. Is it his judgments and his laws and his statutes ain't being implemented. That's the only thing wrong with Israel right now. The judgment ain't going forward.
Mm, mm,
And like I said before, it ain't nobody don't have nothing to fear.
right.
You know, because you know it's a free fall. Ain't nothing to fear. Ain't no men walking around rough around the edges that's gonna do what the Most High said do. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay. I got a question. Is anybody get anything out of this morning class and this evening class?
Oh yeah.
I hope I wasn't reading too much.
No. Right on.
Everybody good? They get anything out of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All
What's
good.
up with me? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering. Like I say, this is where the rubber meet the road at. You got, you know. I was wondering. You know, this to me, David the Messiah, David the real Messiah. So you wanna get a feel for what was going on with him and what happened with him is, you know, that's the foundation. And once you get that, like I said, we don't zero in on these names because these names gonna come back up again. And you might be reading something way over in Malachi, and then Abner name might come up. Well, you gotta know the story. You gotta know what went down with Abner. Okay, yeah. So that's how that go. Yeah, it's on holler at D-Ray. What's up, D-Ray? Yeah, so everybody good? Nobody have no more questions or comments? Okay. Let me see if I got any. Okay, comments. Let me get over here with this. Yeah, I want to everybody to help me out. I want to thank you. I mean, I want to acknowledge it, appreciate what you did. So I'll have an update here real soon. So yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I wanted to say I'm a close out and let me do this right quick. Yeah. So like I said, I'm looking forward to those to Tuesday night, the men's class, and Thursday night. Try to build that up. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
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 Yeah.
Shalom, everyone.
I'll see y'all Monday night at 7 o'clock. Shalom.
Yeah,
Long.
shalom.